Hi everybody, Roy here from Iago Yoga. Today we're going to talk about the arc story and understanding the arc story and what it is. But before we do that, please subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, please like it, and please hit notification as we have regular videos all the time, and that keeps you up to date. So if you think about the arc story as it's part of the universal story in yoga, is there's a journey within all the experiences. And a simple example to give you a fundamental experience or understanding is centering. Centering is universally important to everybody. There's not one person where centering isn't important. And if you think about the first thing you do when you go to your yoga classes, the first thing you do is you center. Everybody comes in, teacher starts to center them. So centering is natural and innate in us. We're naturally in it. Now if you think about it as kids, a child is just in their body. They're naturally connected, but they're not aware of it, but they're completely in it. You know, they breathe, the natural breath comes easy. The focus in their mind is very spontaneous. They can be very unfiltered in the moment. Now they're completely unaware of it, but all that comes natural. It's innate. Okay, so now life happens. So this is part of the arc story. It's something that we have naturally. And then as we engage with life is the bumps and bruises of life happen, and then that can throw us off center. We can lose our center, whether we physically we get caught up in our body. We can sit in chairs. Is that lock us into our bodies in certain ways? The way we walk, the way we hold ourselves. Injuries in life it can throw us off center. Equally at an energetic, emotional level, is we can go off center mentally. We can go off center. And part of the arc story is that when we start going into that experience of disconnection, is it hurts. And again, pain is the experience of separation. So when we lose that connection to our center, that natural state of being within ourselves, and that can be a very painful experience to have. It can kick in fight or flight, and we can get into struggle of it. So part of the arc story is the fight or flight. So think about it, is if it's fight or flight, is we can stand and defend ourselves and attack. We can be aggressive in it, or we can be passive in it, and we go, I'm going to bury my head in the sand and just deny things are happening and not look at things, or I can try and escape. I'll look to get out of here. And that's part of our coping mechanism of when we lose our center, is we're trying to find some place of safety or security within ourselves. So we can get caught up in that struggle, and we can go through all the range of different layers of stress and struggle within that. And ultimately we get to a place where we're in a war zone with ourselves, is we can be just caught up in the battle of life, or the battle within ourselves. The aches and pains in the body can take over, they can dominate. And that's like a battle going on in the body. The war zone emotionally is again there's that state. You know, is then the war can calm down, but we can then be in the trauma of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes we can hurt ourselves in our body, and the body holds the trauma. So you break an arm, you know, and the body braces, is the body can then hold that brace and go around protecting the arm even when the arm heals. And there's that just the trauma that the body has to release. But at one point, is as part of the arc story, is we can get tired of the suffering, we can get tired of the hurt. We go, you know, something's not right here. We've got to find a different way to do things. You know, there has to be another way of doing things. And that's when the searcher kicks in. So now the searcher realizes there has to be another way. And then we go searching for something. You know, and then as we go searching for something, we might find the place that centers us or calms us, or an activity, yoga, the gym, going for a walk, whatever it is. We might find that we start moving towards people who actually naturally support us being grounded and connected. And we're moving into life situations that support that. And the penny starts to drop more and more, is that, you know, I need to just stay in this space where I feel connected. I feel centered. And then we actively begin to pursue that. And again, part of the arc story is figuring out where our center is how to stay centered within ourselves and get back to that place of connection. So the more we find it, the more we work out how to do it. So at a physical level is we start going to yoga. We're loving it, it makes us feel great. But the more we get into it, and the more we enjoy it, and the more we start to figure it out, is we're not just doing the postures, we start to realize how our body works. And we're not just in the what of things, we're in the how of them. We're becoming more mindful of how the body works, how the emotional state, how the mind works. We're starting to figure out how we work. And that's part of the arc story, figuring out that. So that at one point is we consciously come back into our physical center. But this time is we now know we're doing it with awareness. So the arc story is some innate state that we have, and then we can get into the disconnection and the struggle of it and the fight or flight of it, and then we can go down that hurt road, and then we realize that something's missing, and then we go searching and we start looking, we find threads of what feels right for us, and then we start to follow those more. It becomes a little bit more structured, and it becomes a little bit more refined, and then at one point we start to realize that we're well aware that what we're doing is we're practicing being centered, and that we're doing it mindfully, and that as we connect back into ourselves, that's the completion of that arc story in ourselves. Now, it might be at a physical level, it could be at an energetic, an emotional level, at a mental level, is that you're coming into that place of being in your mind. It could be in your core values. At some point you might ask yourself, what are the things that are most important to me in my life? And how do I center myself consciously in them? It could be in your chakra, started looking into that inner space within. And your root chakra it's about your grounding, it's about your security, it's about finding your place of rest, your abode within you. But if that gets flipped, in the arc story we can get into the hurt and the struggle of it, the place that we feel secure, we feel unsafe in. And we get into the fight or flight of that. And it's a bit like we find ourselves escaping. And the oddest thing is, when you place yourself in your root and you start to center yourself in your place of rest, at one point you'll catch yourself trying to escape and then asking yourself, but where is there to go? Like, my body is I live in my body. So again, we've got to find that connection back into the body we feel secure in. Or at an emotional level is that we connect back to that state of feeling. All the emotions calm down. We connect back into that state of consciousness within us, and we reside in that state of consciousness itself, as opposed to the struggle and the fight or flight and the attachments and the thoughts. Okay? So that's the root chakra. So we can either be secure in it, grounded, or we can be in the insecurity of it and the fight or flight and the escaping, and the arc story of figuring out that story back to consciously living in our abode within ourselves, our place of rest. Where the sacral chakra is about life force, and we can be in the living of our experience and our life, or if we flip it, it can be in the survival. We lose our center in it, and we get into the struggle of it, and then we're in the fight or flight. And if we identify and attach to that too much, now we're in the struggle of our life force rather than in the living within ourselves. And again, there's that moment of something's not right, I've got to find a different way, and we start to look at what's important to us and what truly makes us feel alive, and then we figure that out, we move more and more into it, is we center ourselves back into our sacral chakra. And our sacral chakra is the seat of our will. It's the things we consciously will in our lives, the things we put ourselves into. So anything we commit to, we're placing our will into that. So again, it's very important, is what are our core values, what's most important to us, and then how do we center ourselves in that, and then live the fullness of that, as opposed to being in the struggle of it. And that's a very simple way of describing the arc story in the sacral chakra. Where if you're going to come into the solar plexus, again, at a physical, energetic level, it's about our vitality and our abundance, but equally it's also about our personal power, and our self-worth. But again, if it gets flipped and we're in the struggle of it, it's about our lack, and we can struggle with the lack. So now think about this, is the rooms in your life, the people in your life, the situations in your life, is there's always going to be challenges within those. But if you're holding a state of personal power within yourself, you'll deal with them a different way, or a way. But if you're holding that struggle of lack within yourself, then trying to focus on the things that are most important to you, but coming from that place of lack, again, we're in the struggle of it. And again, that's part of the arc story playing out within us. And that the more we figure out that something's not right, I've got love for something, and then we question our value and we realize that we are enough. And I know it seems like a simple statement, but what if I expanded it to, I'm enough for whatever life presents? That's a very powerful statement, because it's a statement of personal power, empowerment. And that the more we consciously bring ourselves back into that natural state we have, all children are born with a vitality and abundance. No child is born with a state of lack. But in life, it gives us a bit of a kicking. It pushes us into places that are uncomfortable. And in the solar plexus, that's the challenge. And that we come back to centering ourselves consciously in our state of personal power, in our vitality, in our abundance. Where with the heart, again, the heart is about the bond, that beautiful connection, that beautiful sense of love and bonding with ourselves, with our nearest and dearest, with our life. But again, if it gets flipped, is that love can turn into hate, into a lack of care, a carelessness. Is we can be doing things in a careless way. And then we can get into the struggle of that. We can get into the anger of it. We can get into the fight of it. We can get into the hate of it. Into the war of the heart. But then at some point, something's not right. I've had enough of this. So I've got to find a different way. There's another way. There has to be another way. And again, now the searcher is in the heart. And the searcher is looking for something in the heart. So at some point, the searcher asks the question, do I really care? Do I really care? And when that's asked, and it's asked in the most honest way, and the answer comes back yes, the place that yes came from is now we're beginning to find the ground of our heart. Because we have to at least care to connect to our heart. So when we can connect back to that place of care, is now we're on our way back. We're working our way back to figuring out how to consciously center in the heart. And that it comes from a place of care, empathy naturally flows, compassion naturally flows, love naturally flows, and that bonding. We begin to bond to what's most important to us in our lives. Ourselves, the people in our life, the situations in our life, our core values, is we can hold that state for them all. Okay? And again, it's still that same overarching arc story of the play of it. And this plays out in all aspects of ourselves. And the more you can understand the general map of it, it allows you to begin to recognize where you are in that journey, and then map out, if you know where you are and you know where you're going, you can begin to figure out how to get there. Okay, so it's very important. Where this one, about the throat, wisdom, and the speaking of our truth, and the challenge with that, and the coming into the wisdom, the knowing of things, where sometimes we can get caught up in not trusting the wisdom of our own voice, and we begin to attach, in the struggle of it, we begin to attach to knowledge. Is we try to control things by saying this is the way they are, and then we can get in the struggle of that. And the problem with attaching to knowledge is that it doesn't bring us with it. And what I mean by that is that here's the knower within ourselves, here's the knowledge, knower the knowledge. When the knower connects to the knowledge, it becomes knowing. We become the living experience of it. And then we communicate that truth. We're communicating the wisdom of that. And that draws us deeper into ourselves. It draws us deeper into our wisdom. So we can get caught up in the knowledge of things. And if we get caught up in the knowledge of things, at some point, is the knowledge is not us. And we can feel that something's missing. So a lot of times people can find that they get a lot of the things that they strive for in life, but yet something's not right. Something's not connecting to them, and they're not feeling it. And that challenge is they're not feeling the knowing within themselves, the wisdom of their living within themselves. So again, the searcher kicks in, and then the searcher goes searching, And we ask ourselves what's most important, and then we ask ourselves what's most important about it. And then as we go into what's most important about it, we find ourselves coming into our bodies more, coming into the present moment, coming into our life force. That we find ourselves being in our power, being in our heart, and knowing the wisdom of it, and communicating from that place. And that's us consciously coming back into the throat chakra and communicating our wisdom. And we're doing it consciously. Okay? So with this one, it's the third eye, the perceiver, consciousness itself. If consciousness itself starts to struggle, we get into the fight of things, we can start to connect and attach to the thoughts. And if we start connecting to the thoughts and identifying with the thoughts, is then what's the longest thought you've ever had? It's not very long. So now think about that constant moving and ebbing and flowing of our thoughts. Where are we in that? There can be a disconnection in that, a discomfort in that. And we can get so caught up in our thoughts and the knots of our thoughts, at some point it's just exhausting. It's no different than wearing the body out. We just wear the mind out. It just gets tired. It struggles. And then it's like, something's not working here. Something's not right. I got to go searching for something. So now what I'm searching for is clarity. I need the clearness of things. So now we start maybe focusing a bit more on simple things and coming into our natural states. So we find ourselves listening a bit more. We find ourselves just watching without judgment, feeling without expectations. That we're coming into all our senses and then coming into the consciousness within our thoughts. So we're not our thoughts, but we are the awareness within our thoughts. And within that awareness, there's a presence. And that presence is our consciousness, the perceiver. And we consciously come back to the knower within us, that conscious within. And again, that's the arc story coming to its completion. So here's the crown. It's all about freedom. So again, we can be in the freedom of it. And again, think about how free kids are. Totally free. Completely unaware of it, but completely free. Completely unfiltered. So now, if this flips, is we can get caught up in the isolation of things. We can feel locked in, imprisoned. Or we can feel isolated, locked away. And then there's the challenge of think about trying to live our lives and living all the things that are most important to us, but at the same time feeling disconnected from them, feeling isolated within them. And again, that's part of the disconnection of the crown. And there's the struggle in that. And then there can be the breakdown of our lives in that, in whatever fashion that takes. And then we realize something's not right. And then the searcher kicks in. And then we start to look at, where am I in all this? Where am I in my life? Where am I in all the things that are important to me in life? Where am I? And where's my freedom in that? Where am I in this where I can just be? And when I can just be in my life is now I'm feeling that boundless state. Now I'm also experiencing the freedom of it. So there's the doing of our lives and there's the being. And the more we can center ourselves in the being and the freedom of it, it allows us to engage very mindfully and consciously in the doing of our lives. And there's a beautiful balance in that. And there's the balance of the being and the doing. And this is very much understanding the arc story and then realizing that this is universally played out all the time. And all the things that are most natural to us. And then pain kicks in and fear kicks in. And if you're to ask yourself, what is the purpose of pain? What is the purpose of fear? Is very simply, it's to wake us up. Is to awaken us. Imagine the child, completely at ease, completely content, absolutely beautiful. Is everything's good as it is? Is if nothing motivates the child to grow and awaken, it'll just stay like that. So we can be motivated by love, we can be motivated by duty, but at a baseline is one of the main motivations is fear and pain. It's just the way life is. And that if we understand that pain and fear motivate us, well, what's it motivating us to do? One is to keep us safe. Fear wants to keep us safe. but more importantly is wants to wake us up. What do you mean by that? Let me ask you a question. What are you most afraid of? Dying or never living? Or dying or never truly awakening to yourself, never truly meeting yourself? Which one is more fearful to you? Which one hurts more? So again, our pain and our fear, again, it helps us measure how to stay safe, and that's one element of it. But its greater element is it's to help us awaken. And it pushes us into the arc story of life. And then what we make of that arc story is ours to make. We're in control of that story. If we don't feel like we're in control of the story, we'll feel like life is controlling us. But as we engage in it consciously, is we start to take control back. So we center ourselves in the present moment and we find our ground. We center ourselves in our life force. We center ourselves in our personal power. We center ourselves in our heart. We center ourselves in our wisdom, in our consciousness, in our openness, our freedom. And then you layer in all the things that are most important to you in your life, your core values, and you channel them through that space. And in that is you're now consciously actualizing. You're choosing the life to live, and you're choosing what that life means to you consciously, because it is our choice. Okay? Thank you. See you on the next video. And remember, please subscribe. You'll be really supporting us.